are at RAGT23 with the incredibly amazing, huge star, Sylvia Day. Thank you for being back here again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You were here last year, but then right before this, you were at Book Lovers Con too. So where are you finding the energy?
Yeah. You know, I actually get really energized by going to conventions.
Do you?
Like really, I get super energized to write. Just being around other people who love books, talking about books, talking to other writers about what they're doing and what's going on with them. For some reason, I get home, I do take a long nap the first day I get home. And then it lasts for 2 to 3 weeks. Just that
high on people understanding the industry with you. And
and just, talking about, what they're reading and what they're enjoying and, finding new books to read for myself. And, I just love it.
I love that part of it, finding new books to read. I don't read everything that everybody else loves, but every so often something really clicks, and then you find a new book that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
So you just had a new one out, Close.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
I mean, it's a change in genre for me. So
really?
I tried. Yes, it is. It's a mystery and suspense. So it's very light on the romance. It's actually not a romance. It's not categorized as a romance because for me, a romance is the evolution of a romantic relationship through conversation and trust and sacrifice. Okay? So there's no conversation between these two because they are keeping secrets from each other. And the male character is not one of the primary POV characters. So the primary POV characters are 3 women. And so it was different, and I told readers in advance that it was going to be different and it was going to have to really find a new audience. So it's been fun and interesting, after 20 years, people don't expect you to go like in a completely different direction. But
sometimes you got to go where you got to go.
Yeah, and because previously when I went in a different direction, they would put it under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
So, I have 3 different pen names. One is mine, 2 are pseudonyms, and, they would branch off in a different direction. This was the first time we went with a new genre under my name.
Yeah. Well, everything I've seen on the feedback for it has been really glowing. So
yeah, I was really excited about that. You hope and, you don't know. And yeah, I've been really, really pleasantly.
Because then there's a follow-up, right, that's already scheduled?
Yeah, so it's a duology. There's 2 books. And so the second book is not a sequel. It's the last half of the story. So it's literally one story that was cut in half and, separated.
And what's that title? I'm drawing a blank, but I know I saw it.
It's Too Far. So
Too Far,
it's Close is the first book and Too Far is the second book.
And it has sort of the same feel of the cover, so people should know that they're tied together.
Oh, that's what we tried to do.
Oh, I think you succeeded. It was awesome. The minute I saw it, I thought, you can tell these go together.
Yeah. I love, the cover art that they've done. Even the international cover art looks really great.
I don't know if I saw that.
Yeah, so in that one, they went with a woman's back. And the first one, she doesn't have any clothes on, but it's her back, and you can see this giant tattoo that she has.
Oh, I do think I saw that. Yeah. Yes, very nice.
And then the second one it reminds me of kind of like an Audrey Hepburn sort of look to her.
Yeah.
And she's got her hand behind her back, so you know that she's not telling you everything.
Yeah, she's holding something back.
Yes.
Yeah. So since that's out there, readers want to know said the Crossfire series left me wanting a lot more. Do you plan to write any follow-ups today?
I know they ask that question a lot.
All the time, yeah.
Yes, all the time. And initially I was like, no, we're done. And, and they're off in their happily ever after. Now a few years later, there's some things, where, I've been thinking. But right now we're in the process of developing the television series. So while that is in development, it's kind of like that was
one of the other questions about the TV series.
I know. Everybody's been waiting on that. It's been in development with 3 different studios over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this time we feel like we have a really good writer. And she delivered the first script directly. We've been in treatment, which is, kind of where she's she's formulating, how to do the adaptation.
You have a lot of input along the way?
To a certain extent, they want the readers, right? So, that's why they want the property, is because they want the readers. So in order to keep the readers, they know it has to be close to the source material.
Because otherwise you just make readers mad.
Yeah,
I started to say piss them off. But you say,
Because
they do. They get really upset when the movie or the TV series is so different from the book that they can't see how it's even the same.
Exactly. So they've been working really hard to make sure that readers will be happy with the final product. She delivered the pilot script after almost a year of treatment, right before the writer's strike.
Oh.
So now everything is on hold.
Of course, because who knows how long that'll last.
Yes.
I think the writer's strike, they're really concerned with AI too, I think.
Yeah, the fight that they're fighting benefits all writers. So I appreciate the sacrifice that they're making to do that, because unfortunately, us fiction writers, we are not allowed to act as a class yet. And we have been fighting that in Congress for a long time. We can thank the Authors Guild for that. They've been lobbying for that for many years, that writers should be allowed to form a class. And at that point, we could collective bargain. Obviously, the big publishers lobby for the reverse.
Of course,
because
it's their business too. So
so some of these fights that they're making as a guild are very helpful for us. And so I hope they get what they want, and they deserve it.
You sort of see the future with the AI stuff. I see a lot of people are getting their artwork that's just AI now instead of hiring artists. But I'm always afraid that we'll do that, and then when you need something that an artist needs to do for you, there won't be any. So I always try to support the actual artists that are, even there's people that are just doodlers, but they do good doodles at work. So I always feel like we need to, I understand AI for something quick and less expensive, but there's talent out there.
Yeah.
And once they do that, I think they're then going to just have, they've already said they can do it. Newscasters can be AI. Romance authors can be AI.
Yeah.
It can overtake everything.
Yeah, the fight really is that, not just that we're going to lose work, but that, AI right now is like a very small child. It has not developed yet fully.
But it's going there,
Yeah, so the concern is that they will take our work and ingest it into the AI and teach it to write like us. So then it'd be like, why pay Lori Foster for a book when I can just go to my AI and say, write me a Lori Foster book, and it's going to spit something out. So,
I think they tell them the elements they want, and it does it.
Yeah.
That's what I've read, at least. Yeah.
So, really what writers are saying is, do not use our work to train your machine how to write. If you want to train that machine how to write, you better find somebody who's willing to do that. But don't take my work and then make it write like me.
Yeah.
So, it's a good fight, and it's a very valuable fight.
I bet you were really fighting with the moral rights clause, too, in contracts, weren't you? Where they, for anyone that doesn't know, like where they adapt it for foreign markets, but you don't know what they're putting in there when they do it.
Luckily, my foreign rights have always been sold separately. And my agent, who is a domestic rights agent now, started as a foreign rights agent. Good. So her foreign rights contracts were always really, really tight.
Really tight, yeah.
They're not allowed to adapt the work. They're only allowed to translate the work. Of course, that depends on the quality
it doesn't always
of the translator.
Too,
Yes. We've had some funny translation stories.
I can imagine. Well, I do, like, even if someone from another country writes me and it's not in the language, and you just hit that Google Translate thing, and then it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Because it's not what was intended.
Yeah.
So.
And then, and they're conversing with you as a friend, so they're using slang, and, it translate, and you're like, I can kind of guess the context here, but that didn't come out right.
See, I understand that because my son over in South Korea taught conversational English. So he's not an English teacher, but the Korean kids were fluent in English, but then they wanted to learn to speak like us so that when they're here, they just sound like us. So he was teaching them, just how to, like you say, just be conversational without it being really, really proper. Because we don't really speak in proper English over
Right.
here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know the last time someone said, to whom are you speaking? You know, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that part of it. So you're thinking about those stories, but you haven't written them yet. What about after this? Do you have another series of this type you're pondering, or
You know, I don't know.
you're just waiting to see?
I have been working on this series for so long.
Because COVID hit in the middle of the whole thing,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
it did. And I had kids that were getting on their way. You know, my daughter's graduating from high school. That stopped. You know, she didn't graduate until after the pandemic was over.
Because they couldn't do the ceremony and all that. So
yeah. I mean, it was just like their lives just stopped. You know, my son, who was getting ready to start college, all of a sudden, you know, he is just not an online student.
Yeah.
He needs to be in the classroom with the instructor. So that stopped for him. My eldest, who was living away from home, ended up being furloughed. He was, you know, for a long time. And then it was like, yeah, we're not going to bring you back because we're just not going to open again.
Oh.
So then it was like he came back home. And then it was great for a little bit to have everybody there. And it's, you know, it's still a wonderful time in that respect that, you know, we were able to all be together. But you could see after about 9 months.
They're all like, this is too much.
Yeah. I mean, it was they started to have depression. And I think it really hit the younger kids a lot harder than it hit. You know, some of us that are kind of used to being at home, you know, for me.
Because writers are solitary anyway.
Yes, exactly. And so when I started to see how it was impacting them, that was really hard. So then we ended up doing a whole redecoration. I don't say it's a renovation because we didn't take anything down or knock anything over, but, you know, we repainted everything. We bought all new furniture. We bought all new art.
Nice.
And the kids went in and they just, you know, I said, you know, pick new carpet, pick new paint, you know, pick new furniture, all that.
I hope they have good taste.
Yeah, and you know, I'm like, it's your space, so do what you want with it. And so, you know, they did, and that really gave them that was something they could see changing, you know.
They had control over it, because with COVID, nobody had any control. It was so frustrating.
And it was the day after day the same exact thing. So all of a sudden you could wake up and have a different carpet. You could wake up and have different paint.
Nice.
And those things really, and the contractors were like, thank you. Nobody wants us to come into their houses right now.
Yeah.
So, you know.
We actually had some things done, too, for that same reason, because they were available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have to wait forever. And, you know, they were grateful. And you know, that was really a help. But trying to get into a book when you have all these people around and things are happening, you know, it was just like, it really was very different. But it also contributed to the whole kind of it's a gothic, it's a contemporary gothic. That sort of weight kind of came from that experience of
because you were living it.
Yes.
Yeah,
that claustrophobia of being, you know, in a space
stuck there.
Yeah.
So the last question someone asked was, who are some of the authors that you're reading right now? They want to know if they inspire you, but I don't know. I think authors, when they're reading a book and they really enjoy it, different parts of a dozen different books can inspire us. But is there anyone you're particularly fond of right now? They want suggestions on who you're reading.
Samantha Downing.
Okay.
She is really lovely. Her books are very dark and twisted.
Yeah.
And her new book that's coming out is called A Twisted Love Story.
Ooh.
The first one I read from her was My Lovely Wife. And that is about a couple whose marriage was starting to get a little boring until they found a shared hobby, which is kidnapping women.
Oh gosh.
So yes,
that is dark.
Yes,
Yes,
it's dark. It's very dark, but it's they just announced right before the writer's strike that they're going to be developing that for Netflix. And they're going to make a movie out of it. But it's she's definitely not romance.
Yeah.
But she writes about couples. Just it's like a very dark side of that relationship. So A Twisted Love Story, which I was lucky enough to read earlier this year, was just like next level. I really enjoy her work.
I'll remember those and I'll look them up.
Yeah, she's really good. And then when I'm writing, I try not to read in the same genre that I'm in. I've got 2 new Laura Lee books that I know she's great. So I just got those. and they're not out yet, so I feel very lucky to have a chance.
That's one of the perks of being an author. A lot of times you get the early stuff.
Yeah, you know, you end up, you know, talking and you're like, oh, I can't wait for your next book. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
You're like, great. Hey.
Yeah.
So, you know, a couple of those, but I often go back to like old favorites.
It's like visiting a friend, right?
Yeah. So a lot of Julie Garwood,
Me too. I love her books.
Yes, and she had a new one out just this past year, so it was great to have something new from her, especially from a, you know, long running series that I love. You know, I'm glad that she went back to that.
I love that we both love her because she's just amazing. I think
she is. She is really. She's a legend for a reason.
Have you met her
you know?
before?
No,
me either. I know. I heard her speak one time, but I've never met her.
Yeah. Oh, you did. So you saw her. Yeah.
I saw her speak.
I've only ever, you know, like online.
Yeah.
So, and Linda Howard, of course.
Me too.
You know?
I know. Yeah. I think we went through that same era with who were the icons at that time. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a lot older than you, but I'm saying you published younger than me, so yeah.
No, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, you know, and I feel really fortunate to continue to be able to keep doing it. We had a conversation actually when we were at Book Lovers Con, you know, about the authors that were writing at the time that we were getting started and how many of them just are not writing anymore. For whatever
old
reason.
And tired.
Yeah, you know, it is a lot. You know, it's a lot. And the business side of it can be really tough. You know, you have like this joyful, happy, creative part, and then you've got like this headbanging, frustrating business part.
Right.
And trying to put those together, one can really beat up on the other one. So I totally understand, you know, in life, you know, different things happen, you know, being creative, you know, your outlet may be writing for a while, and then it transitions to something else, you know, and, you know.
Well, a lot of them seem to switch genres too, and I don't know if that's because as you grow, you're a different person, so your likes and dislikes are different, and maybe it's just drawn to something different. I don't know. But I see that a lot too. I loved all of Catherine Coulter's early historicals, and now she writes that, you know, that mystery sleuth set that she does. So I know it changes, you know.
Yeah, like I love Sandra Brown. I like to read her old romances. I also like to read, you know, her present day like mystery suspenses. So yeah.
And that woman doesn't age. Like
I know.
If no one knows, look her up. She does not age.
I know. She looks fantastic always.
So this was fantastic. I'm glad you were here. I hope we'll get a chance to catch up again. I don't stay for parties because I'm old and tired. So I just go home to my own bed, you know, my own shower. But otherwise, hopefully I'll see you around.
Yeah,
so
I would love that.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.